Hello everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here. I'm making the case that silver is not going to save you in an apocalypse. We're going to go over that, and then we're also going to talk about when silver is helpful, some situations that make sense to own silver in. This is not going to be investment advice. This is more informational and educational, and I'm excited to make my case, but I like to be all about the facts and balanced perspective. Again, I don't think it's the right move to be putting all your money into silver for a prepping scenario. Again, there's some cases where it would be a good idea, and that's what we'll be exploring today. Please, as always, leave your comments if you agree or disagree with what I have to offer. So, first, the main objective in the beginning of the video is why it won't save us in an apocalypse or sort of a problematic situation. I think the apocalypse, it's obvious if there's a massive zombie apocalypse or if there's a asteroid that strikes the earth and decimates it. I don't think anybody thinks silver is going to be saving them, but I think at the same time, it's important to be realistic about the different areas of the world that people live in, where silver fits into a picture maybe of hyperinflation or of some really challenging societal environments. Maybe that's like a collapse or a new government that totally is different from what we have today. And I think the really important thing in a situation, say the electrical grid went out for a few months, I think you want to have food, water, shelter, and defense, and then possibly some money to transact with. But I don't think that it's like the automatic default that silver would be the replacement. I think maybe there's some people who would be interested in using silver as a way and a method of transaction. But I think that a lot more people would be comfortable with money, with cash. Or the other important thing to think about is with gold. I would probably tend to recommend for people who are interested in like these major downside scenarios, something like this. There are some downsides with silver. It's probably less recognizable. There's a lot more sort of bars out there that aren't as held to a standard, or it's not like everybody recognizes CMX or Monarch Precious Metals is pretty big, but I don't think Mooney Metals. I've heard of them for sure. I own some of their silver, but it's not like silver is on the same tier as gold. Even from a status perspective, people, it's the gold standard. People don't say I'm going to be try to held to the silver standard if they're saying it in like a idiom or like a verbal expression. Gold, the gold medal versus silver, like at the Olympics, people want to go for gold. So I think the next thing is you have to be real about who's going to be accepting the silver as a payment. I think a lot of people, if there's like a barter situation, I think that would be such a breakdown to get to a situation where people are literally bartering with precious metals. I think that's something, it's not always fun, like for me to, try to come in with my perspective. It's like, it doesn't go with like probably the silver YouTubing narrative. I think that like silver has its place. Again, I own a fair amount of silver. If I thought silver was really stupid, I probably wouldn't own as much as I do, which is like 4 or 5% of my investments. Again, not investment advice, but I'm just saying like I have a good amount of it relative to other people, but at the same time, I try to be pragmatic about how I view it and keep my head on my shoulders and not try to get too wrapped up in stuff that doesn't make a ton of sense to be supporting. Carrying a lot of physical silver is sort of a risk, and it's a lot tougher to disguise, having this in gold versus, the equivalent value in silver. This is like $230 or so. You could have a tiny gold coin that people would probably be much more willing to accept versus if you're going to be transacting with big kilos of silver, the amount of gold that could be represented by this 1 kilo would be much smaller. Now, the silver could be good for like small denominations if you were paying with that. But again, I still think that, silver would not be like the automatic go-to for a lot of people. Modern, I would think more people own Bitcoin. Well, probably people of my age are interested in crypto versus like physical precious metals investing. But again, like the whole idea of like carrying around a bunch of random 5-ounce silver rounds or even 90% constitutional junk silver, like at that point, I think that it's going to be a lot more important to just have the essentials covered, have like survival skills and understand like how to get around versus, thinking that, treading around with a bag full of, 50 pounds of silver that you can break up, it's a safety risk. Like you can already get robbed if you have silver in physical possession. You can certainly get robbed if the society breaks down to the point where you're needing to use that silver to be spending it. So I think that that's just another thing. Now, if the apocalypse or this massive problematic scenario is like the downfall of a traditional monetary economy, then I think silver does have some use. But again, I would rather than be sticking with gold. I think a lot of other people are. Or, say you're in Venezuela or Turkey currently has some major problems with its currency. If it's more of like a insurance that your country, like say you're in the States and you have a view that society is going to be fine overall, but maybe the States is really going down, well, maybe you should look at non-US equity like stock investments. And then silver might be an okay thing to have as part of a defensive basket of materials that might also include, again, gold, maybe some crypto, maybe some foreign real estate investments. There's a lot of different factors that could go into like preserving your wealth outside of the situation or the country that you are in. And I think having some physical properties, like enough to get out, is going to be important. So that can be sort of where it factors in. But I think, again, if you're in the United States or if you're in, say, Canada or the United Kingdom, if the world gets in such a problematic place that there's full erosion of the purchasing power of the euro, the pound, the dollar, I think that there's going to be some really problematic factors that went into, what got us to the point where we are trying to trade using a 25-ounce silver bullet instead of, your 20-pound note with Queen Elizabeth on it or something like that. I think the other thing to think about is, with these hyperinflationary economies, it's not necessarily that these are good investments, just that like everything else that's non-silver denominated or non-gold denominated goes down quite a bit. And again, that's good downside risk, but I don't think that you should structure your entire, investment or value preservation just like purely against like a huge macro factor. Silver's quite industrial. If the markets go way down and there's a lot less business, silver is going to probably have some pain seen in it. Sure, it's a little bit of a safe haven, but it's also important, like the industrial uses of the silver. So you have to keep that in mind as well. And it's not really thought of as a hedge against inflation as much as something like gold is, or, some people would make the argument now these days, especially with the low interest rates, like crypto is. And I think if you do want to do this, you should probably not go for like big kilos of silver. Instead, keep these larger investments in gold, and then you can have a ton of like dimes or half dollars, 90% constitutional, or like 1 ounce, whether it's whatever the low premium. American Silver Eagles are always good too. But there's a lot of types of silver that's not going to be, it's a little more liquid than like these fun collector marketed bars. This is cool. Like reminds me of being out in the West, like a century or two ago, like trading around with like physical bullion. It's like a cool picture. And again, I really like owning all this. I like enjoy the collecting aspect of having this stuff, but it's not, for me, it's not really the like prepping mentality that drives me to go for silver. It could be a good situation if you are prone to spending your money on lots of different investments, or not investments, like lots of different experiences. You're constantly dropping stuff and you feel like you're not a good steward of capital and unable to like, you think maybe you're just gambling a ton. Like silver, if you're doing it for just to see if it can shoot to the moon, there's a little bit of gambling, but also say, I've used this example in the past, but like say you're regularly smoking or drinking, or I don't know, buying really high-end cars or something. Like there's a lot of depreciating things, or things that aren't great for you and will go away, and maybe not even leave you in a better spot Well, then if you could instead use that to purchase silver, where even if it goes down 50%, it's a much better use, monetarily than like paying $10 a day for smoking or something like that. Like, I'm just putting that out there. That makes a lot of sense. But also, say you own a bunch of these 1 kilo bars, and in a pinch you needed some money, you could use it as collateral, then purchase it back. You could lend it to a friend for the cash. Then when you get the cash back and you're able to, say, access the money, then they'll give you the bar back, and they just hold it as collateral. That's a good example or something like where that makes sense. Like, it's a different type of store of value that's out of like the traditional US dollar. I think the big thing is, like, it's super fun to spend on, in my opinion. I really enjoy owning what's in front of me here, being able to pick it up as I talk through a video, and I prefer this hobby to obviously many others. You can definitely come back to it when you want and slowly accumulate like a physical stack that is a store of value that's not really recognized or like on the books in any way. That's sort of an attractive thing. I think that's attractive about crypto. Now that's becoming more regulated. Nobody knows if I threw this, I don't know, in a lake somewhere, nobody would know where it's at. I don't think that that's like the best argument for why you should invest in it, but like, it is sort of fun to have something that, look at it. It's like it has no utility outside of, to the average person who's not going to use it in like a industrial application. I'm not able to create like, I don't know, like wind turbines or different things that really need this silver. But a lot of people would accept that this is worth in the range of like $40 to $50, and it's just this little chunk of an element. So anyways, that's the whole point for today. I just, you got to pump the brakes if you're thinking that this is like the way to I don't know, beat, or like, this is how you're going to get around an apocalypse. I don't think that that's really super realistic. And I would say if that's a scenario you're really concerned about, maybe look into having good water supply, good rations, good survival skills, good defense, weapons and ammunition. There's a lot of other things that I would say is way higher on the list versus something like silver. And again, I would contend that gold could be a better move than silver. If we were in a really bad situation, I think you'd have a lot more acceptance of like things that are clearly gold coins as opposed to silver. So that's where we're at. Thanks for watching. Let me know your opinion. I always like getting challenged or having people say different things, and I'll see you on some of my future videos. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated. I've also got Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so you can follow me there. TreasuretownYT.com is the main channel website. Definitely give that a visit. I've got a lot of information about me up there and the channel. CoinGrabBag.com as well currently redirects there, but it's some good opportunities for very fair grab bags, both made by me and other sellers. A lot of different options, so that's a good way to support. There's also TreasuretownCoins.com. In the future, my coin dealing operation will be done out of that website. CoinMeltPrice.com for updates on the melt prices of your coins, both US and world. A lot of resources in that website. And then CoinsMetalsCards.com being developed right now as a marketplace and news source for coins, metals, cards, and collectibles in general. So I'll see you on my future videos. Looking forward to seeing you there, and hope you have a good day.